All right, so I was avoiding doing this video, but so many of you have been messaging me and commenting in my other videos, and just whether you're just squealing about the tariffs, oh my God, the tariffs are coming, we're all screwed, we're all going to pay too much for cars, or you're asking me genuinely for my opinion, which I appreciate, and I'm flattered that my opinion matters that much, because I'm nothing more than a YouTuber and a guy that knows how to use Google, and I am a realist. So I believe hopefully that's why you're asking me, because you know that I can give you a completely non-political opinion, which is what I'm going to attempt to do today. I'm going to try to just make sure that nothing political comes out of my mouth, because I'm not looking to chase away 50% of you. And if 50% of you believe one thing and the other 50% believe the other thing, you all can fight in my comment section. It's totally fine with me. Frankly, it's entertaining for me. But for me, I'm not looking to alienate anybody. I just have to deal with the world that we live in. And I think that my opinion comes from a place of reality. If this is the world we're going to live in, then this is how that world's going to work. And I like to look at things in a not as much a black and white variation, but more as let's wait and see before I panic, because I know that I don't know everything. I know that there's people way smarter than me that have thought this stuff through, so maybe I'll be a little cautious, and I'm not going to make any knee-jerk reactions, nor am I going to go acting like a fool and screaming all over the world that, oh my God, we're screwed, tariffs are coming, we're going to all have to pay too much for cars, which is the key point of this video that I'm going to jump into as soon as I play that intro. All right, so first let's get a little bit of perspective, just away from all the politicians, away from all the media, all the noise out there. If you watch the left, the world's coming to an end. If you watch the right, the world's going to be perfect and great and wonderful. Listen, here's what I care about. What happens in the four walls of my house with my family? What happens with my career? What happens in the economy? How does my savings account look? How does my retirement look? How's the stock market look? These in the long term, not the short term. And because a lot of my long-term investments are going to be what pays for my retirement. So what does the world look like to me today, and how is that going to affect me? And you can call that selfish, but I think it's the best way to look at things for all of us, to be extremely just downright objective with ourselves, that it is about me. It's okay to say that. As a matter of fact, do me a favor, just write in the comments, it's about me. Because if you start thinking like that, then at the very least, you can maybe just take a step back and say, if I'm not affected by anything yet, and my life is okay, then I'm not going to go screaming from the mountaintops that it's not going to be okay. A wise mentor of mine told me many years ago, I'm sure it was a quote from somebody other than him, but he said, look at things and deal with things as they are, not as they were. Don't look backwards. And also don't try to waste time worrying about what you think is going to happen, because most of the things you worry about will never happen. And that's where I have to live in my life, because as a naturally, I'd say insecure overthinker, because I do overthink and I can easily head down a very scary place sometimes in my own head, and some of you may live in that same place as well, because I didn't grow up with a lot, so the fear of abject poverty is something that weighs on me every single day. So regardless of how successful I get, how much money I am able to amass and save and security I can create, I still always have that fear of going back to not having all of my stuff, my security, my safety, and stability. So that's just a survival aspect that I think we all deal with in our souls. And some of you just don't care. You're good. I love the guys who comment and go, I can't believe your cell phone bill is $500 a month in the last video. I've never paid more than $45 a month. And I'm like, we're living different, buddy. And I'm not judging how you live, but we're definitely living different. I've got freaking iPads all over this freaking house, and everybody in my family's got phones, and somehow I ended up paying them all, and I'm cool with it because it works out, and I'll just work a little harder to make these things happen. But that's the perspective aspect of it, is we may not see things the same exact way. And that's okay too, unless we talk about politics. And then everybody wants to hate each other. So here's my deal. Perspective is where you live, how you live today, and what will be affected by the things coming. And what I want you all to think about right now is, first of all, just ignore the catastrophizing. Ignore the world's coming to the end stuff. Because I don't know about you all, but I've been through now 2 recessions. I'm not counting 9/11 as a recession, but it certainly was really spooky for about 6 months right after 9/11 took place in the finance universe that I live in, but it came back quick. But I'm talking about 1992, the aerospace industry disasters, and then I'm talking about 2007, 2008, when the mortgage meltdown took place, and I got to sit and live through that. So I've seen what bad times look like. And I don't think that we're anywhere near that. With that said, if you watch the news, either side's going to convince you of something. And I just want you all to think for yourselves. So wash away the politics and just watch this video with an open mind. Let me show you why you shouldn't be panicking. One guy commented a couple days ago, have you seen the stock market? It's horrible. It's going in the toilet. So I just said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's look at the Dow. Let's look at the Dow. A lot of people are screaming on the Dow. That's what they say on the news. Now, let me just tell you something. For most of my life, when I would hear the Dow's down, the Dow dropped, 5,000 points, whatever. When I hear this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I had no clue what in the hell that meant. I had no clue my whole life. And I can go back, click to max if it'll show me. And I'm talking, the 90s, like, oh my God, the Dow's down, dude, you're 2000. Oh my God, the Dow dropped. See all these little drops? Oh no, we're at the lowest ever. I heard all this. My whole life I've heard this stuff. I didn't know what the hell the Dow was, but I knew that it was down and I should be worried and afraid because the news told me so. But right now they're doing the same thing. So if I just look at the last 5 years, and we've lived through some crazy times, like COVID, for example. And we look at, let's just go back to April of 2020 when we all ended up getting locked down in our house. So that gives us almost a perfect 5-year period, and things were down to 21,052 and 53 cents. That was the Dow, about half of what it is today. And then this last 5 years, it's gone up, it's gone down, this looks like an EKG on a guy with heart problems, up and down, up and down. And here, if you look back in 2022 in September, do you all remember hearing panic? Were you all running for the hills thinking the world's coming to an end? I don't remember. Somehow things were just fine. Matter of fact, I was buying cars. Things were happening. But this was happening. I'm sure the news was screaming, holy crap, the Dow's going to the toilet. The market's going to hell. Okay, cool. Then it came back, and then it bounced around again. And then it came back. And by the way, both presidents are doing tariffs. Go look on whitehouse.gov and use the Wayback Machine and go back to Biden's tariffs that were coming in and all that stuff. And everybody was kind of quiet about it. Nobody was screaming. So here's the deal. You see all these little ups and downs. And then we go to like the highest it's ever been, 44,642. And then we have these drops. And they start blaming the current administration. It comes back. Oh my gosh. And now it's dropping again on the fears of the tariffs. We're still at 41,583. Higher than we've ever been. Like if I could draw a line right across here, wait, I'll tell you what, call me when we're at 21,000, because that was a scary time for COVID. And that was something I can tangibly touch because I knew that layoffs were taking place and things were going to be very, very hard. What about the S&P 500? Well, we could do the same thing and watch this graph. We go back to 1997 at $759. And then we go all the way across all these years. Somehow we were doing okay. Somehow we all lived through it. And these big, huge drops, you see these in 2020, and then another one big drop here in 2021, and another one 2023. And here we are at the height of like 6,051, and now it drops to 5,580, and everybody acts like the world's coming to an end. I think you all can get the point. Stop worrying about it. Best advice I can give you is just turn off the TV, turn off the radio, and if your paycheck's still coming in and you're still earning money, the biggest challenge you have right now is just dealing with the inflation and the higher interest rates. I think that's the thing that all of us deal with every day. It stops me from making decisions to buy things because I look at the interest rate. And even people starting a business. Well, if I have to borrow money to start a business, it's going to cost X amount of dollars. If I have to borrow money to do anything, it's going to cost me X amount of dollars. And frankly, maybe our 401ks and our investments aren't performing like they were, so it's hard to borrow against those things and expect that those would offset the interest that we're paying. So it slows behaviors. That's okay. It's normal. It's ebbs and flows is what we're going to do. But the biggest thing that affects us is, like I said, the inflation and the high prices of things. So that takes me to a point I want to make here, which we'll look at this in a second. If we go back, actually, let me get back here. I want to look you in the eyes when I say this. When these news articles come out and these news stories come out, if you go to Google right now or you turn on your TV and watch any news station, everyone's screaming about, oh my God, the prices of cars are going to go up. I just want to get the biggest point in this video across right now. That's not political. It's just human. Here's what I keep commenting on posts on Instagram. If you've seen a few of my posts, I keep saying, especially from car dealers and car gurus that are saying prices are expected to go up $3,000 a car, $10,000 a car, $12,000 cars. Experts believe. I love it when they say experts believe. Some guy with a neck beard writing an article says it's going to go up. A car is going to go up. If it's 25% of, one guy said the other day, 25% of a $100,000 car, it's going to go up $25,000. So you all better be prepared and start buying your cars now because of the price increases that are coming. You know what my comment was? My comment was, it's not going to affect me. It's not going to affect me at all. And here's why. I ain't going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. If they raise the prices any more than they already have, I'm not buying the thing. I hope that makes sense. I'm simply not going to buy. This whole thought and notion that they raise prices and then we're going to pay more, that's assuming that we're lemmings and we're just going to stroll in and say, okay, it's 4,000 more and buy. I don't know about you all. I just won't buy. That's where I've been now. This is the longest period I've gone without buying a car in 5 years because of interest rates and frankly because of prices. They don't make any sense. I got slightly burned on my Scat Pack, happy with it, and I bought it at MSRP, which was way higher than MSRP before. Let me show you the reason why we're not falling for it anymore. And I'll just say this real quick. In the last 5 years, some of the cars that we love, the automakers, along with the dealers, raised the MSRPs by 30, 40, and even 50%. Meaning these cars went up so much just this last 5 years, and that was fine when rates were so low. That's kind of how it happened. We were like, well, at 2% interest, I can pay more for a car. Now, at 9% interest, we can't, which is why the auto market is slowed significantly. But if they want to stop the auto market, all they got to do is keep playing that game with us. Because here's what I'm willing to say. Bring it on, automakers. Bring it on, any of you. Because here's my deal. I just won't buy. We just won't buy. Can I get an amen in the comments? If they keep raising prices, I won't buy. I already stopped buying as it is. I go out and look once in a while. Discounts are in place. Maybe I'll consider it. But the reality of it is rates just deter me. And I'm not writing a check for cash because I'm certainly not pulling any of my investments out that are down right now. That would be stupid for me to do. So how much liquidity do I want to spend on a car that I could leave or at least use to buy stocks that are on sale right now that will inevitably come back? So let me show you the reasons why we are done. Here's why. In 2015, and I just picked random dates, like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, a quote, Scat Pack original MSRP was $40,990. That was MSRP before any discounts. You remember, as things moved on, like around 2019, 2020, we had power dollars. So you would get $4,000 or $5,000 off of these cars. And even if MSRP went up a couple $1,000s, there were always discounts and incentives that were taking place. So that Scat Pack was $40,000. Think about it today. Today, the stupid electric Scat Pack is $80,000 to $85,000 optioned. Okay, maybe $75,000. No options. Good luck finding that car. We see them all in the specials that don't exist. So we're talking 40 to 75,000. That's almost double what they were asking. I don't know about you all. I'm not buying that thing for that price. So we've decided, absent tariffs, we're simply not going to buy. The cars that I used to love, the reason why I left them is in 2015, I was driving and buying almost every couple years a new S550 Mercedes-Benz. It's a beautiful car. I'll show you what it looks like. These things. I think I had 3 or 4 of these things over the years. It was just the normal thing. And everybody in my business drove them. So if you look back at the MSRP of $97,400 for an S550, and now you look just 10 years later, the MSRP of these things of an S580, which is the newest model with the V8 engine, is $128,600. You will never most likely find one for that. And if you just look up here, $140,000, $145,000, $136,000. Here's one, $124,000, and that. Wait a minute, that's not even one. That's an EQS. So I'm just looking at S classes. These S classes, $145,000, $136,000, $132,000. So look at that. We're talking about a $35,000 increase in pricing. Raise it another couple thousand. We're all it doesn't matter. Raise it 10,000. Doesn't matter. We're not buying it anyways. Next point I wanted to make is just these Googling I just did. These automakers have made billions of dollars. And if I go back to 2022, 2023, they were making record profits, billions and billions of dollars. In one of the toughest years, which was 2024, for all of the automakers, you can look at, they all still made billions of dollars on top of billions of dollars they made before, along with sending jobs outside of our country, buying almost everything that they were using to build those cars outside of our country, and getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier along the way. So if we look at these profits, they have room to absorb some tariff expense. They absolutely do have room. Now, what some people might do is go and say, well, if General Motors sold 2.7 million cars, then 2.7 times, let's say $4,000, well, that wipes them out. Does anyone here think that our government would even create a situation that would wipe out General Motors without knowing right up front that they would have to bail them out if that happened? So we just have to assume that nobody would do such a thing. So there's all kinds of exemptions and ways for them to work around and be able to build these cars and sell these cars without being wiped out. So I don't see that happening. So I got to think our administration knows that as well. The other thing that they're getting a gift, which we have to accept, that is a reality, even if you're into saving trees, is with the current administration's massive rollbacks on the emissions regulations, they're expected to save the automakers about $250 billion, or I'm sorry, 300. Right now it's costing manufacturers $350 billion each year, and that cost is supposed to be mitigated heavily or even go away along with these impossible to achieve regulatory issues these companies were budgeting for, which takes me to acknowledging that you just look at Ford alone in 2024, they lost $5.1 billion on their EV program. So here's the deal. Just stop making EVs, shutter that entire division, and you save $5.1 billion. There you go. You can afford to absorb the cost of the tariffs and build gas engine cars that you've had around forever and build them cheap. And we don't need digital dashes anymore. We don't need all this stupid technology. We need good cars that will run and get us to where we need to go, and a few really fun big V8 engine cars along the way that cost them less money to make, a lot less money to make than, for example, Stellantis's twin turbo inline six that costs about $13,000 or $14,000 per engine versus a 392 Hemi V8, which is like $7,000 or $8,000 if you want to just buy a crate motor from Mopar. So get rid of this stuff that's covered in emissions crap and tied towards all that stuff that's costing billions of dollars, and suddenly they can accept and absorb any of these costs with these tariffs. I've also got to address the point that if anyone thinks for 1 second that these automakers or these big monster publicly traded companies aren't going to grind the living crap out of every single supplier they have that's outside the US to reduce those prices for them to absorb those tariff costs. I can tell you right now, if I was running any of these American automakers or any automakers, and I was getting my parts from somewhere that was going to be subject to a heavy tariff coming into the US, I would be telling them, you're going to make less money this year. You're going to discount those parts to me by 10, 15, 20%, because I promise you, when you look at parts, the profit margins probably from the cost to create the part to selling it to the manufacturer, I would bet anywhere it's 50 to 70 to 80%. And by the time it gets to us, it's, marked way up in the cost of that car. So they will figure out how to spread a lot of these things across a lot of other areas of automaking to where they can't come and hit us. But if they do, I dare them to, because I just won't buy. And I think that's the point I want to make to all of you. I just won't buy. But Brad, somebody's in the comment, but Brad, what about all those people that are losing jobs? Well, every day I open my computer, I hear about some new company investing in America right now. I don't know. Maybe it's lies from the politicians. But right now I'm hearing all these companies bringing all this money to America, and even manufacturing. I think Honda recently said they were going to start manufacturing even more here. And they already do a lot as it is. Then I got to think that jobs won't be lost like people think. The UAW is jumping up and down about what's going on right now. Jobs have already been lost too, by the way. So those of you that say, what about all the jobs are going to get lost? They've already been losing those jobs. So I can't see it being any worse. And then the last thing is, I can't help when I read, I start seeing all the tariffs that have been imposed on us with our products going to these other countries. And without sounding like being political at all, somehow they've been able to pay the costs of those things. I got to think that it goes both ways. Somehow we're going to be okay. And I just think there's no reason for us to worry, and stop listening, and don't listen to the car salesmen out there that say, well, prices are going to go up. You look them in the eye and go, I dare you to do it. I dare you to raise prices again. You guys already raised prices 30, 40, 50% this last 5 years. I dare you to raise prices again, because I and all of my brethren out there who work hard for their money every single day are going to say, I'm just not buying. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to keep my car. And what we're going to see is people keeping their cars longer, which means they're going to need to get their cars fixed, repaired more. And that's okay. And dealers are going to benefit from that, so they'll be okay because they'll have more cars to fix. Hell, independent car repair shops are going to have more work to do. I don't know. There's always a give and take no matter what it is in this world. So the way I look at it is, I'm not going to lose any sleep. Let the politicians all fight, and I'm going to sit here and pay my electric bill, pay my stupid cell phone bill, and work very, very hard to make sure that I am never, ever subject to the whims of somebody who's making decisions in Washington, D.C., good, bad, or indifferent. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.